First hour this morning, we want to ask you about the president's Twitter habits and if you think it's helping or hurting his administration. Recent tweets on Michael Flynn and the FBI got a lot of attention this weekend, and at a recent event, his current CIA director Mike Pompeo and former CIA director Leon Panetta debated over the president's Twitter use. We'll show you that in a moment, but we want to hear from you as well about the president's use of Twitter and what you think about it, helping or hurting his administration. 202-748-8001 for Republicans, 202-748-8000 for Democrats, Independents, 202-748-8002. You can post on Twitter as well. At C-SPAN WJ is how you do that. And you can also post on our Facebook page at facebook.com/cspan. It was over the weekend that the president sent out several tweets, which got a lot of attention, media attention and otherwise, on the Sunday shows too. Some of the tweets dealt with Jim Comey, the former FBI director, saying after years of Comey with the phony and dishonest Clinton investigation and more running the FBI, its reputation in tatters, worst in history, but fear not, we will bring it back to greatness. That was on the subject of the FBI. Also, Michael Flynn saying, so General Flynn lies to the FBI and his life is destroyed while crooked Hillary Clinton on now that famous FBI holiday investigation with no swearing in and no recording, lies many times and nothing happens to her. Rigged system or just a double standard? A lot of attention was paid to this tweet in particular, saying, I had to fire General Flynn because he lied to the vice president of the FBI. He has pled guilty to those lies. It's a shame because his actions during the transition were lawful. There was nothing to hide. Also, other stories coming out about the author of that tweet in particular, saying it was attached to one of the president's lawyers. But to the topic of Twitter overall and the president's use of it, we're interested in thinking if you think it helps or hurt the administration and the information you may personally gain from the tweets he sends out as well. Republicans, 202-748-8001. Democrats, 202-748-8000. Independents, 202-748-8002. In fact, the president just tweeting out this morning, as he typically does in the morning hours, saying that putting Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, a liberal puppet, Jones into office, this Doug Jones in Alabama, would hurt our great Republican agenda of low on taxes, tough on crime, strong on military and borders, and so much more. Look at your 401ks since the election. It's the highest stock market ever. Jobs are roaring back. So he covers a lot of topics, a lot of ground on these tweets, and we want to get your thinking on them. It was at a recent event at the Reagan National Defense Forum. This took place on Saturday, and you can see it on C-SPAN. His current CIA director, Mike Pompeo, the former CIA director, Leon Panetta, in the previous administration, talked about the president's Twitter habits and had an exchange on those habits. Here's a bit from that event on Saturday.
The problem of of suddenly tweeting an anti-Muslim video like that is that once it goes out, what it does is it inflames the people that are out there. And we had very much the same kind of experience in the time that I was there when there was Koran burnings that took place that made their way to video. And when those Koran burnings go out in a video, it resulted in several demonstrations taking place at various embassies. And the problem is that lives can be jeopardized. So I just think it's really important that the president understand. And I'm not sure he fully understood maybe the implications of what he was doing. But it is clear that it's not something he should do, because when you do that, when you tweet something like that out there, you don't know what the consequences are going to be. And the consequences could involve lives. So better not to do that. And I hope he'll refrain from doing that in the future.
Twitter makes your job harder.
We use Twitter for lots of things in the intelligence community. There are days we have good days, and there's days that we use it in ways. I mean, right? Social media more broadly. Go ahead.
Rephrase.
I know what question you're going to ask.
One account on Twitter makes your job harder.
Oh, I don't know that that's the case. I've actually seen it help us. I have seen things the president has put on his Twitter account actually have a real-world impact on our capacity to understand what's going on in other places of the world. That is, our adversaries responded to those tweets in ways that were helpful to us. to understand command and control issues, who's listening to what messages, how those messages are resonating around the world. My son knows my views on social media. It is not an unambiguous good. And maybe that's enough.
But you want to, yeah, sure. How about just react to Secretary Panetta about the specific, the plane fire?
I don't have much to add. The president, in my experience, when we talk with the president about the threats from radical Islamic terrorism, understands that it is incredibly important that we address the malign behavior in a way that reflects on opportunities to make Americans safer.
So, current and former CIA director talking about the president's Twitter habit. A lot of people commenting on it as well. You can, and we give you the opportunity in this hour. 202-748-8001 for Republicans, Democrats 202-748-8000, and Independents 202-748-8002. Daniel starts us off in Washington, D.C., our line for Independents. Daniel, what do you think about the president's Twitter use?
The Twitter use, the speech at the UN where the president goaded and used infantile name-calling and insulting the leader of North Korea, threatening to flatten them and incinerate them. We all know that. This is simply treason that Donald Trump needs to be immediately removed. The United States must de-escalate.
So Daniel, to the Twitter use, please. What's the comment on his use of Twitter? What do you think about it?
Anybody who would goad the president of North Korea with infantile names is a danger to the security of this country. The next war games are going to use over 200 aircraft.
Okay, we're going to leave it there only because I want to say to the topic at hand. Virginia Beach, Virginia, Democrats line. Judy, go ahead.
Yes. I think that it is damaging to the administration. It's damaging to the world. I think that his Twitter account should be completely canceled. He doesn't comply with the rules. Most of his tweets are hate speech. The only reason that Twitter allows him to continue, they made an exception.
So when you say the Twitter use is damaging, specifically, what are you thinking about? A specific tweet or topic that he tweets about?
Okay. I would love to say it's one thing, but it's just about most of the stuff that he says is hateful. When he talks about our government agencies, the FBI, etc., or when he's talking about a congressperson or the news media, something that we considered normal, that these agencies and this group did their job. And weren't perfect, but did their job successfully. And now everything is fake news and awful administration agencies, with the exception of him. That's a problem.
Okay, let's go to Darlene, St. Paul, Minnesota, Republican line. You're next. Go ahead.
Yes.
The president's Twitter use, Darlene. Yes. What do you think about it?
I like it. He should keep on doing it because the media is all liberal. Plus, they're gossip columnists. They want to rule the country, and they are idiots.
So specifically, why do you like the tweets that the president puts out?
Because I hear a different opinion. I hear his opinion, and I like his opinion, and I voted for him. And I'm 80 years old, and I would vote for him again if I lived that long. So
when the president tweets on something, do you take that at face value, or do you interpret it a certain way, or do you think about what he says before you decide an opinion on it? How do you respond to it when the president tweets something?
I take it at face value. Sometimes I laugh because he's funny sometimes, but I do take it at face value.
That's Darlene. Again, so one of several people giving comment on the president's Twitter uses. Again, the phone line's available to you. They all start with a 202 area code. It's 748-8001 for Republicans, and Democrats 202-748-8000. Independents 202-748-8002. Several people commenting on Twitter this morning, as you can imagine. This is Mylan saying Trump said the stock market is, quote, rigged. Now he hilariously tweets it as an accomplishment. This is Lyndon saying it helps the country to convict him of treason. This is J.D. Redding, who says more power to him. And this is Lizzie, who says his tweets are what is keeping hope alive. The world listens when he tweets. The president tweeting, as he usually does at this time of day, several times during the day this morning on various topics that come to his mind. This is about taxes, with the House and Senate beginning to conference efforts today on Capitol Hill, saying with the great vote on cutting taxes, this could be a big day for the stock market and you. That you in all capitals. Let's go to Sabra, Washington, Utah. Hello, go ahead, you're on.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
His tweets do nothing but hurt, but he likes it because he, things that just come out of his mouth, are just mind-boggling. No, it's not good for the country. We've never had a president tweet before. I mean, what the hell? But no, he likes it, and so as long as he likes it, I guess that's all that matters. But it's just he's bad.
Do you now because you're calling and comment on him? Do you I guess in a sense pay attention to what he says on some level? I would think.
Yeah, I try to, and then a lot of something I go, what did you say? No, he just didn't say that. I mean, but it's. Whenever, like the thing with the women thing and the bus thing before when he was running, you can do, when you're rich, you can do all these, you can grab them. And then the Al Franken guy, he's a bad guy. And then the Alabama, whoever that guy, we know he's a pedophile. I mean, but he believes him. He believes he didn't do that. I mean, it's ridiculous how, he's an idiot.
Chicago, Illinois, independent line. Nick is next. Independent line.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you doing today?
Fine, thanks. Go ahead. What do you think about the use of Twitter?
I'm 29 years old. I think it's absolutely insane for anyone to think that his use of Twitter is helping the country. I honestly think it's incredible for anyone to think that what he uses on Twitter is helping the United States of America. I'm sorry, that's just fact. I'm an independent. I voted for John Kasich. I wrote him in. This is incredible for anyone in the entire world to think that his use of Twitter is helping the United States of America.
So give me an example of his use of Twitter not helping the United States of America.
Not helping?
Yeah.
I mean, there's countless. I mean, I can understand to some extent. There's some certain things that maybe if there's a scenario in France or in Britain where there's lives lost when he's being apologetic and supporting for that circumstance. But other than that, come on now, you can't. Anything that he does, it's really bad.
TJ on Twitter says this: his tweets are good. It makes the media immaterial, yet they still try to interpret his words in a biased way. Twitter is how you can post on there if you want to give thoughts on the president's Twitter use at C-SPAN WJ. And our Facebook page is facebook.com/C-SPAN. Seattle, Washington, Democrats line. Hello, you're next up.
Yes. I'm calling about his tweets about the football players. I'm 74 years old, and most of all the people I know, all my relatives' sons have been in the Marines. We've never stand up for the flags. Most of the people that's my age and down, we don't stand up for the flags as African American. So when he speaks about what he's saying, to me it's ridiculous. Because if anybody knows what black people have gone through in this country, what is there really to stand up for? Everything we do, we work hard. We have 2 or 3 jobs, and we don't complain. We don't complain when the gas is $7, $8 a gallon. We just keep going and keep working and educating ourselves because that's all we can do.
When the president, what do you think he did for the conversation about those issues? The president tweeting about them. How do you think it changed the national conversation on those topics?
That president is just racist. But the thing of it is, He can tweet whatever he wants. He can set any laws that he wants. But the people of color and foreigners, we're going to survive no matter what he does. Because if we can go through slavery, we can go through anything.
The president's Twitter habits, particularly when it comes to matters of race, the topic of an op-ed in the New York Times this morning. Kashana Cauley, who is a television and freelance writer, writes about this under the headline, Trump's racist tweets, My Patriotism. She says, let's recap. President Trump recently attacked the running back Marshawn Lynch for standing for Mexico's national anthem but sitting for the Star-Spangled Banner before an NFL game to protest police brutality. The president attacked Representative Frederica Wilson of Florida after she accused him of insensitivity toward the widow of Sergeant LaDavid Johnson, who was killed in Niger. He slammed the basketball player Steph Curry for refusing the White House, called Representative John Lewis of Georgia all talk and no action, although Mr. Lewis is known for, in part, suffering a skull fracture at the hand of Alabama state troopers, and during a September rally in Huntsville, Alabama, ranted about football players' decision to kneel during the national anthem. The president tweets and speeches make it clear what he thinks about black Americans. Our role is to sit down and shut up, to remain deferential and grateful to him about what I'm not entirely sure, since his policy attacks our rights, livelihoods, and physical safety. But these days, after I move through a mixture of grief, fear, and disgust, I always feel, after reading his racist tweets, I feel defiant. Those are the thoughts that you can find in the New York Times this morning by Kashana Cauley. California, Stockton, California, Republican line. Jack, go ahead.
Yeah, just to that last point that you just raised in the article, the op-ed piece, I read that this morning. It's interesting to me that Marshawn Lynch would sit for the American national anthem in Mexico, but stand Mexico that has a documented human rights problem with police brutality and the militarization of their domestic police force. Just two quick points. One, every independent and Democrat you've talked to has bordered on hysteria. When you've pressed them for actual concrete examples this morning, they can't give any. And two, I would say, yes, the president's Twitter use is incredibly effective because it cuts out the intermediary. Instead of having a president who is targeted day in and day out for fabricated stories, he gets to pick the story that they're going to target him over, and usually they're complete nothing burgers. So as an effective use of mass communication, if we're going to have social media and politicians tweeting and using Facebook and the silly platitudes that they exercise, if the president is going to do that, it's great that he's doing it this way.
Give me an example, then a specific example. Do you think that's a positive, then, a story or a situation that the president has tweeted about?
So I could think of a couple, but one in particular, I think most recently is in fact the NFL story, where most Americans are either, not following that news story. They're either, as sports fans, fanatically involved in it. The president was able to isolate the variable and say, this is kind of exceptional that we have, what are professional athletes who make millions of dollars going on about police brutality, either because they're unable to articulate what exactly is the grievance or because they're just doing it because their teammates are. And the real issue is whether or not the league that profits off of millions of Americans' hard-earned dollars in ticket sales, merchandise sales, is actually condoning something that's anti-American, or if it's going to do something to encourage its players to have some patriotism. I thought that was an incredibly powerful moment to isolate American opinion, to target it to a specific issue, and it was a lightning rod. And everyone's been talking about the racial dimensions of the league, the unfair contracts for players as far as the health and the concussions go. I think it was incredibly productive. So
okay.
The previous call.
Gotcha. Jack, in Stockton, California, it was back in October that the president, when he was commenting on the NFL on a regular basis, said this from his Twitter feed, saying that the NFL has decided it will not force players to stand for playing of our national anthem, totally disrespectful of our great country. That's another example of the president commenting on an issue which the caller had brought up. Off of our Twitter feed at Cspan WJ, Myra says that his use damages our relationship with other countries. For example, the retweet of videos from Britain and first and that whole thing. And then this is Mud Devugger. I suppose it's, I'm pronouncing the handle, saying the presidential tweets are called free speech too. Let's go to Rebin. Rebin is in Alexandria, Virginia, Democrats line.
Hi, I would just like to say, what guarantees are there that someone, let's say that works at Twitter, just like they did before, hack into Donald Trump's account and declare war on North Korea, let's say?
So you're saying just the security of the platform itself is a reason for the president not to use it?
Absolutely, or he could start. I mean, North Koreans are not that sensible. Let's say says that I have declared complete war on North Korea, and they see an airplane in the sky and they shoot it down, and accidents happen all the time.
In Alexandria, Virginia, that's another caller from the Wall Street Journal today, a story that profiles the president's chief of staff, John Kelly, who is in charge of all things of managing the White House for the president. Says a little bit about Twitter when it comes to the final parts of the story by Michael Bender this morning, saying Mr. Kelly has never aspired to control the president's Twitter feed, however, which continues to create news and criticism. Just last week, the president drew a rebuke from the British Prime Minister Theresa May for retweeting videos posted by a far-right British nationalist group that purported to show violence committed by Muslims. On November 12th, with many of the president's, Mr. Trump's senior military and diplomatic advisors arguing for diplomacy with North Korea, the president tweeted that the country's leader, Kim Jong-un, was, quote, short and fat. Asked about the tweet posted during the president's trip to Asia, Mr. Kelly shrugged, quote, believe it or not, I don't follow the tweets, he said, adding that he urges White House policy staff not to be influenced by the missives. From Florence, Arizona, here is David on our Republican line. David, hello.
Yeah, hi. I'm a first-time caller, and I couldn't agree more with your caller prior to your last one, who I think is a fruitcake, but Trump's tweets, it seems to me it's the only way that he has available to him to get his message out there. You know, the media is not doing anything but pulling a few keywords out of anything he says or does and make it into their own narrative. With this being said, I can only say that Trump's tweets are effective, and they are changing the way people wake up and see things in this country. And that's pretty much my opinion.
David, when the president tweets on a variety of topics, personally for you, David's, are you still there, David?
Yeah, I'm still here.
So when the president tweets on those topics, how do you interpret them? Do you take them for face value? Do you take them tweet by tweet? How do you go about processing them?
Well, there's so much media involved after I'm not seeing or hearing the tweet ahead of time. There's a lot of processing goes on personally in between, what the issue is of the day. As far as North Korea and his speaking out against a regime there that is just totally out of control, one that threatens the lives of Americans on a daily basis, as far as it being a battle of words, I don't think that Trump is out of line there. I think anything that he says about this man is genuinely, to the core being true.
So I guess what I'm asking is do you take everything for truth then? Do you take it on face value and as truthful?
No, I don't, because all people have emotions and we act emotionally. I don't think our president's any different. He's beat up on a regular basis by every form of media out there. And, he has to deal in emotions, and maybe he might say things on occasion that don't ring true, and you feel the anger there. But it doesn't take away from the fact that he is a good president. He is doing more for this country than has been done for so long. He's opening people's eyes to the biggest threat that we have in this country, the Muslims that don't even try and hide their views of what they feel about America. Death to America is always been their thing. They can't get their palisades. They can't get their agenda met until they can, overcome the West.
Okay.
And everything.
Okay. That's Carl, and David in Arizona. So this is Carl. He's in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, Republican line.
Good morning.
Hi, Carl.
I think it's a good thing for one reason. Do you think ABC would have ever retracted that story about Lynn if it were not for the president tweeting? I doubt it. It would have been out here for the public to consume fake news, just like he said it was fake news. And you asked the gentleman a while ago if he believed all the tweets were truth. You know what? I don't believe everything I hear on your program is truth. And I would love to see one program about Uranium One or the dossier. I bet my wife a steak dinner that you guys would never put it on. and I'm winning.
We've done segments on those already, though, so
I haven't seen anything on it.
I invite you to
watch it
check
every morning.
I invite you to check our website at cspan.org for that. If you want to see all the segments we've done, type in Uranium One. I don't know about the dinner as far as the bet with your wife, but there it is. Arizona is next. Independent line. This is Link. Hi.
That's Arkansas. Not
Arkansas.
Arizona. We don't snowflake around here. The president needs to be on Twitter because the mainstream media doesn't give him a chance. Look what he said when he's a New Yorker. He says, like, Rex, you don't need to talk to them. They only know one thing. That's how New Yorkers talk. That doesn't mean he was undermining him. That doesn't mean he was taking his power away. But that's right what they jump on. Everything he says, they twist. And I agree with him. But people have ruined the NFL with all their crap.
So you're saying that
the
the tweets do then a runaround then from typical media sources, and that you take that for what it is and take that as truth every time he does that?
I don't take it as truth every time he does it, but you got to have a brain and not just be out there to put him down. People in the swamp and the media have so much to lose. If all the truth came out on what they have done in the last 50 or 100 years, anybody who's paying attention should be mad as hell. Donald Trump is a real American. The last president we had tried to destroy this country with everything he did. Look at the way our military, he left our military in bad shape. We can't even fly around in a chopper or an airplane without it going down. Have they been hacked by people? How come we can't fly our planes around no more?
Okay. Let's go to Anthony, Virginia Beach, Virginia. Hello.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Listen, I'm an older black man, and I can truthfully tell you that I support Donald J. Trump, our president. I personally believe that the man is doing right as it stands right now, and as a black man, I can tell you this. Where would all these black folks earn that much money in another country that is purely black or primarily black? We have to come to appreciate what God has done for us as a race of people in these United States. We are blessed. And I think that there's a better way of going about all of this rather than kneeling at this point, At this point in time, we should be standing.
Okay, Anthony, to that point, you've made that point to the Twitter use. What do you think?
As far as I don't agree with everything on the Twitter use. Some things could be left off, but I do support the president on that for many of things. Many, including this whole Muslim stuff. I really support our president.
Okay, that's Anthony. So for the first half hour of our program or so, we've asked you about the president's Twitter use and what you think of it, especially in light of recent tweets over the weekend. You can continue commenting on our next half hour. 202-748-8001 for Republicans, 202-748-8000 for Democrats, 202-748-8002 for independents, and we'll continue to show you that. Some of the Twitter use from the president, particularly when it came to issues of Michael Flynn, the FBI, those kind of topics were the topics of the Sunday shows yesterday. This is the Senate Judiciary Ranking Member Dianne Feinstein, Democrat of California, talked about the president's tweets, and also especially in light of the current Senate investigation into Russia.
And the Judiciary Committee has an investigation going as well, and it involves obstruction of justice. And I think what we're beginning to see is the putting together of a case of obstruction of justice. I think we see this in the indictments, the 4 indictments and pleas that have just taken place, and some of the comments that are being made. I see it in the hyper-frenetic attitude of the White House, the comments every day, the continual tweets, and I see it most importantly in what happened with the firing of Director Comey, and it is my belief that that is directly because he did not agree to lift the cloud of the Russia investigation. That's obstruction of justice.
Let's go to Stephen in Airmont, New York, Democrats line.
Yes, this incessant obsession with Twitter is diminishing it's helping to diminish our standing in the world, regardless of what some of these other people are saying. I just don't know what to say when the Prime Minister of England has to rebuke this impetuous. I mean, he reminds me of my spoiled 10-year-old cousin, except it's the same difference, and it's a disgrace. Donald Trump and his crime family are a plague on our nation. Okay,
but the Twitter use, you're specifically citing the Prime Minister and talking about the videos he retweeted.
Well, yeah, it's not. It's more than that. It's the name calling. It's the taunting. It's just not presidential. And like I said, he's like a spoiled 10-year-old who no one has ever said no to. This guy is wrong even when he's right even when he's wrong.
The Guardian newspaper, which comes out of the United Kingdom, talked about the retweet of those videos in light of the president's Twitter habit. You can find it online. The writer is saying this: the extraordinary spat refocused attention on the president's Twitter habit, its potential to wreak diplomatic havoc. It is true long after the fact that letters and telegrams revealed tensions in the relationship between wartime leaders Winston Churchill and Franklin Roosevelt, and recordings demonstrated how Ronald Reagan apologized to Margaret Thatcher for invading the former British colony of Grenada without her approval. But the president's Twitter barbs take place in real time and on full public display. It forced Theresa May to respond with sharp words, and some fear could one day goad North Korea's Kim Jong-un to respond with a nuclear missile. Roy in California, Democrats lying. Roy in Sun City, California. Hi.
Yes, I think the president's. Good morning. I'm sorry. I think the president's Twitter use is causing a great deal of divisiveness in the country, and he's just divisive. He's always angry, and for those that say that what he's bypassing the media and everything, he's just putting his spin on the issue. For instance, the NFL players. I'm a 22-year retired military veteran. I love this country. But I fought for the rights of these people to peacefully demonstrate or protest. Not to just say, hey, I don't like what they're doing. They're not disrespecting me. And a lot of these people that are out here complaining have never, ever sacrificed anything for this country. And I find, especially him for that matter, he's just divisive.
That's Roy in Sun City, Florida. A couple other stories to show you. We'll continue on with this topic, but the president travels today to talk about national monuments and national land. This is the Washington Times, that the president to scale back national monuments put into place by under Presidents Clinton and Obama, saying that the Centuries-Old Antiquities Act gives presidents the authority to create monuments, but it specifically states they should be limited to the smallest area possible and to protect specific artifacts and other items of cultural and historical significance. Mr. Obama and Mr. Clinton, however, stretched the bounds of that law to its breaking point. Grand Staircase is comprised of 1.8 million acres. It's widely believed that Mr. Clinton created the site to stop potential mining in the area. Monument designations effectively shut off land to energy exploration. And similarly, Mr. Obama created the 1.35 million acre Bears Ears and shut down potential coal development in the area. He did so over the objections of some local officials and many Utah lawmakers, though environmentalists and many Native American leaders backed the decision. In reversing those actions, Mr. Trump's cuts could represent the largest reductions of any national monument in history. He reportedly will chop Grand Staircase by as much as 85% and Bears Ears by about 50%, and possibly will turn each existing monument into two separate sites rather than the single massive tracts they are now. Arizona is next, and that's Phoenix, Arizona. Republican line will go next. Eric, hello.
Hello.
You're on. Go ahead.
You know, I'm really disappointed in the United States of America in the fact that you've got people calling as Democrats, and they're just bashing Trump. there's, the Bible is really clear that, we need to pray for our authorities. Okay, so these Democrats should be praying, not condemning and attacking Trump, but they should be praying for him.
Eric, to the president's Twitter habit, and what do you think about it?
Yeah. What I'm trying to get at is, it's totally helpful for me. Just for example, you're going and you're giving New York Times and things to that effect. I look for the same type of news as you're looking at, and the majority of it attacks the president. There's an agenda out there to destroy the Republican constitutionalist type of environment. That just like the example of that video that was put, those 3 videos that were put out, it had to do with the open borders. If you notice, it was Britain first. What is the focus of Trump? Close our borders, opposite of the Democrats' Clinton backing, of open borders, the Islamic terrorism,
and so you're saying the president's tweet reveals that?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love to be able to go and read and get direct on what's going on at the top, what's happening at the White House. Well, what a better response to get immediately than to have getting a Twitter from the President of the United States. I am grateful and thankful he takes the time to do it.
So what?
That people like me can.
I didn't know, but if you heard the previous caller, but the previous caller says when he sends those tweets out, it's basically giving his own spin on a story. How would you respond to that?
I disagree. I believe he's telling you exactly what's going on that's in front of his face every day. And it's up to, you couldn't get, if you notice, all of the news sources use his tweets because that's the only thing that they have to work with, and then they go and they twist it. They twist what he says.
That's Eric in Arizona. Jerry is in Huntington Beach, California. Democrats line.
Oh, well, this is kind of a funny segment, and I love listening to this rant by everybody. But the one caller really shows what the right is all about. He said he's trying to blame Obama because we've had a few plane crashes lately. Is there anything they don't blame Obama for? This is just, every time I think they've hit rock bottom, they somehow figure out some way to dig 3 feet deeper.
The president's Twitter use, Jerry. What do you think about that?
Well, I agree with the callers that say that the tweets are unpresidential and they're silly, and it's just listen to some guy on a rant. And the president of the United States shouldn't be on a rant. He should be calm and a little bit like Obama was. Obama wasn't the greatest president, but he wasn't the worst either. And we're seeing just this out of control crazy man in the White House now that I hate to say it, but that's what he is, and something.
That's Jerry in California. This is Sean off of our Twitter feed at Cspan WJ, saying that he's pushing back against the biased media, and I'm okay with that. And then Woody says, the president's tweets have changed my mind. For the first time, I would be voting straight Democrat in 2018. At Cspan WJ is how you post on Twitter. You can post on Facebook at facebook.com/CSPAN. The president sending out yet another tweet this morning talking about an event on Fox and Friends. The program saying a must-watch legal scholar, that's Alan Dershowitz, was just on the program talking of what is going on with respect to the greatest witch hunt in U.S. political history. And he adds the word enjoy with an exclamation point. From Samuel in Alabama, Independent Line. Samuel, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning to you. It really just upset me when Republicans gets on the line and says that we are attacking Trump, but when it's really a problem with national security, when he retweets stuff that he really hasn't did any kind of investigation on it. He just goes on around. Now, when it goes to the point where they say he's done more than any other president, whatever, we're still trying to figure out what has he done. Regardless of being a Republican or being independent or a Democrat, it is about the country, and we should put American first. When you start taunting, making accusations towards North Korea and tension bills, then when the problem comes here in America, we just started some kind of war or whatever happens, then we started going to the point then we want to blame Trump. Why avoid that now? Why can't we do something to avoid that now? We all know how our president is. And
okay. That's Samuel in Alabama. The Alabama Senate special election that takes place on December the 12th is a topic that many people on Capitol Hill watching, including the White House. If you go to the Real Clear Politics website, they keep track of the various polls involved with this race, build an aggregate from that. They highlight the recent CBS News U2B poll that was taken from November 28th to December the 1st, showing Roy Moore up 6. Before that, it was the Washington Post, who took a poll from the November 27th to the 30th. That showed Doug Jones, the challenger, up by 3. If you take those polls collectively and even them out and average them out, 3.2% with Roy Moore, with that slight advantage there in the Alabama Senate race. Again, Real Clear Politics is where you can find that. The topic of the Alabama Senate race, also a topic on CNN's Chris Cillizza's page when it comes to the president. This is the website, or I'll just show you the site. Donald Trump is going to campaign for Roy Moore because, of course, but he also makes the distinction that less than a week after making clear he would not go to Alabama to campaign for the embattled Senate nominee, President Donald Trump is doing the next best thing. He's going to Pensacola, Florida to hold a campaign event next Friday, just 4 days before the December 12th special election. Pensacola, for you amateur geographers out there, is 25 miles from the Alabama border. It's closer to the capital of Alabama, 164 miles to Montgomery, than it is to the capital of Florida, which is 196 miles to Tallahassee. And the Pensacola Mobile media market reaches more than 15% of the state. Let's go to Michael in Clarksburg, Maryland, Republican line. Michael in Clarksburg?
Hello? Hello?
Hello, you're on.
Yes. Thank you for taking my call. I think the president's tweet is dangerous. It's crazy. It shows that the president is immature and lack of confidence. That's what I think.
Give me an example of that.
Yes, because he knows that he has nothing good to offer. If you ask the president to come and make a major speech, he will come out and he will contradict himself. There's a certain things, there's a lack of understanding of what is going on. He doesn't have the maturity, the politics maturity. So he will come out and just say anything, anyhow. So I think the White House is trying to control him, like that. The senator says that he's in the adult daycare. So this is where he comes out and tweak, and so some people would follow him. But I think it's in a good sense, because in the next round, we will know who to vote for. Sometimes you're voting for somebody for certain things. Within the short period of what he says, we thought he was a good president. He would be good. Maybe he would stop. But now we know the real Donald Trump, the real Donald Trump is.
Did you vote for him, Michael?
I can't say that. But I know some people who voted for him, and they have regretted it from voting for him. And it's good that he's doing that, so that now we know who he is.
Okay, let's go to Celestine, West Virginia, Democrats line. Hi. Celestine in Martinsburg, West Virginia. Hello.
Hello. There's one question the Republicans always ask. They say, I never seen a poor person hire anybody, have you? Well, yes, as a poor person, I hired an exterminator, I hired a plumber, I hired an electrician, I hired people to do my yard work.
Gotcha.
I think it's a great thing that President Trump used Twitter. And we can have these tough conversations that we need to have. And for your, I had to change my phone number before I get on C-SPAN, because they always ask me, what's your comment? And then I don't say anything outrageous, and they block me from getting on.
Well,
they start blocking me because they know my name, Tanya. So then I have to say my middle name, Celestine, to get on C-SPAN. I'm tired of C-SPAN censoring me, so I can't enjoy my freedom of speech. I think it's a great thing that President Trump uses Twitter, and shame on C-SPAN, because I'm not an outrageous person.
Okay, but absolutely, just make the point that you've gotten on our program to give your comment. We've let you gave that comment and gave it extensively. So I don't know where the issues of blocking come from, but that's and according to our people, you've been on 3 times before. So Maryland, independent line, Jay, hello there. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say that that I'm actually glad that that he's tweeting and that we have the ability to to listen in on it on his thoughts. I also think that it's good because his supporters can't deny what's actually what they're actually supporting. It forces discussion. And that whole bit. These are the things that we need to talk about, and they need to be on the surface. They don't need to be underlined and folks talking in code and these kinds of things. And so it just brings everything to the surface.
So
nobody can deny it.
So Jay, do you think it really does foster a discussion amongst people when the president sends out tweets on issues?
I absolutely do, and I think with it fosters discussion in the proper areas, where we need to have them. Like for instance, for the folks that you work with every day, we go into our jobs, we smile, and we have we have workplace discussions and all. But when it comes to these kinds of issues, which are normally sensitive issues or whatever, like this, for instance, I've been at this job for about 17 years now. So I'm 38 years old now. I started this job when I was 21. So a lot of us kind of grew up together, and we always smile and have a good time at work and these kinds of things. But our political views are totally different, And some say that they voted for him because of gun rights and these kinds of things. But whereas though in large part, I feel like you voted against your own interests. We make the same money, and Trump's not for any of that. He's not for the middle class person. I can understand if you're a wealthy white guy, then I can understand your support for him. But if you're not just a minority, but if you're middle class, I don't understand how you can support the Republican Party. Period.
Okay, that's Jay in Maryland. Kevin off of Twitter says this when he tweets that he knew Flynn lied to the FBI and failed to fire him for it instead of firing Yates and Comey. It sure helps Bob Mueller. Again, Twitter is available to you at CSpanWJ. Facebook page at facebook.com/CSpan. You can call the phone lines for the remaining time of this segment, about 15 minutes or so. When it comes to the president's Twitter habits, you heard from the ranking member of the Senate Judiciary another member, Senator Lindsey Graham, on the Sunday shows talking about the president's Twitter habits, what it could do for him in the long run. Here's a little bit of that conversation from yesterday.
The president says that after, in the tweet, he says, after years of Comey with the phony and dishonest Clinton investigations and more, running the FBI, he's talking about Comey there, its reputation is in tatters, worst in history. But fear not, he says, we'll bring it back to greatness. FBI, worst in history, in tatters? Do you agree?
No. I think Comey needs to answer questions as his time as director. I think he made some decisions that were really very, very wrong. I would just say this to the president. There's an ongoing criminal investigation. Comey may be part of it. You tweet and comment regarding ongoing criminal investigations at your own peril. I'd be careful if I were you, Mr. President. I'd watch this.